Hello and welcome to the Sonic Cinema Podcast. My name is Brian Scuttle. Thank you for joining me at www.sonic-cinema.com as well as the Sonic Cinema Podcast YouTube channel. Click subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Good Pods, or just anywhere you listen to podcasts. Chances are you will find us. You can also check us out at patreon.com/Sonic Cinema. There you will have access to excerpts for Q&As at Atlanta Film Festival, at Renegade Film Festival, and at the subject of today's episode, and that is at patreon.com/Sonic Cinema. It is the beginning, early September, and you know what that means for me. It is DragonCon, the multi-day genre convention that takes place in downtown Atlanta every Labor Day weekend. I say multi-day because of the fact that chances are it's basically a week. Partying starts on Wednesday and goes through Monday. And it is one of those things where this is, including the COVID year, which admittedly, was just watching stuff virtually. This is my 17th year in a row going to DragonCon, and it was Meredith's 11th year. And the past few years, if you've listened to this episode, you know that we basically kind of gotten into a fairly standard practice as far as how we approach things, and that did not necessarily change this year. We were kind of talking about changing, but this year was very stacked as far as people we wanted to see. So that did kind of dictate a lot of how we ended up approaching DragonCon this year. The one thing I will say is I was really grateful to be able to talk to and see so many friends this year. I mean, basically saw at least one friend every day at DragonCon this year, with the exception of Monday where we went to the vendors. But we basically we basically decided to just take it easy, and we were able to make things work. It was a lot of fun. And so Wednesday night, after a very long, annoying day at work for me, we got to the hotel, Hilton Garden Inn, our home away from home on Labor Day weekend, checked in, watched a couple of episodes of Bones, and got to bed. Thursday, we got breakfast, and we went to the Cortland Grand Hotel, which is where they do badge pickup. Saw our friend Sven, as well as my friend Chas. She's a cosplayer, and earlier this summer, I did some poster culling from my collection, and she won one, and I hadn't been able to get to her before then. And so we decided we were going to make it work by trying to get to the badge pickup around the same time, and we made it work. So got her poster, met Sven, and it was talked to him for a little bit after we did the DragonCon store. Was great to see them open up a second one at the Cortland Grand this year. And then Meredith and I just basically went back to the hotel. We crashed. We watched Bones all day. And if you're picking up on a theme, there's a reason we watched a lot of Bones. We started binge watching it earlier this month. And it's because of the fact that A, it's the 20th anniversary, and B, DragonCon was going to have a lot of people from Bones. One of the things that really signified this year for us was getting down to the con early each day. Usually we make a point of mainly doing that on Saturdays when we go to vendors. We did not go to the vendors this year for reasons I will discuss. But we ended up just going down every day this year and really early. Part of the reason on Friday we went down is they had spotlight signing um, events at the Marriott. And basically, it's where they have certain celebrities get together in a particular place that's not the Walk of Fame to do autographs and selfies like you would at the Walk of Fame. The one of the ones I was interested in that morning was Katie Sackhoff, who is Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica, but she's also Bo-Katan from Clone Wars and The Mandalorian. And I wanted to meet her because I was a fan of Bo-Katan, and we've gotten a little bit into Battlestar Galactica, so it was great to talk to her a little bit about that. And then we went to another one at 11 o'clock where it was David Boreanaz, who was as first DragonCon. David Boreanaz of Buffy and Angel fame, as well as Bones and SEAL Team. And this was his first time at DragonCon. And I will admit, I'm not going to lie, I was a bit nervous because I wasn't sure what kind of meet he was going to be. He was absolute delight to talk to. He was into it. He was great. It was so much fun. After we met him at that signing to we basically found like a poster length sort of poster Bones, but it wasn't the traditional paper posters. We were going to get the cast to sign. After that, I had my first photo op of the year, which is with cast of The Mandalorian, including Katie Sackhoff, Emily Swan, and Emily Swallow, as well as Simon Cassiandes, who played one of the Mandalorians. After that, we got some food in one of the areas of the Marriott, and then we went to the Walk of Fame. And so we got some more autographs. We got Christopher Lloyd. We got Claudia Wells from Back to the Future. And we also started to get some more of the Bones cast, including TJ Tyne, who played Hodgins on there. And so after that, we had a photo op with Buffy cast members, which was originally going to be 4 people. Mark Lucas and Emma Caulfield, unfortunately, were not able to make it on Friday. So it ended up just being David Boreanaz and Charisma Carpenter, who was only there for Friday. And so that was good. Then we went back up to the Walk of Fame, and we got in line for Emily Deschanel, who played Temperance Brand on the on Bones. And it is one of those things where, to a certain extent, I feel like the festival might have underestimated just how popular she was going to be. But it also highlighted something that I very much noticed in my talking with celebrities at the Walk of Fame this year. There were a lot of celebrities who were very generous with their time this year. Katie Sackhoff definitely was. David Boreanaz was. TJ Tyne was. Tamara Taylor, who played Cam on Bones, was. Chloe Bennett, who played Daisy on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I met her while Meredith was in line for Emily Deschanel was. And the reason Emily Deschanel's line was so long was because she was taking her time with everybody who was in line with her. Meredith ended up being in line for about 3 hours. In the interim, I was able to get autographs for Tamara Taylor and Chloe Bennett before getting up to talk to Emily. which put us around 7 o'clock, which is when the Walk of Fame closes, and we ended up leaving after that just because of the fact that we were exhausted. Saturday, we usually, like I said, this was usually a day where we go to the vendors during the parade. We did get there early, but we didn't go to the vendors on Saturday. We got there early because we wanted to make sure we got a good parking spot around the con. And then we also got in line for the Bones Cast panel, which had David, Emily, Tamara, and TJ, which was an absolutely wonderful way to start our panels for the festival, for the con. And they were an absolute trip. It was great to listen to them, how much love they have for the cast, for each other, how much love they have for the show. It was just really a lot of fun. After that, we did get some lunch, and we went to the Walk of Fame again to get a few more autographs. I was able to get Matthew Wood at the time. I was able to get, I think that was about it. That might have been all. But, Eddie McClintock. Meredith got to meet Tamara Taylor after being in line for Emily during that. Then we had a Bones Cast photo op, and then Meredith went back to the hotel, and I was basically on my own, at which point I basically hit the Walk of Fame again, was going after as many autographs as I could, including Simon Pegg, including John Boyega, including Sam Witwer, and I think that was it. I think that's all and that basically took care of a lot of the people I wanted to get autographs to, except for one. And then after that, did some walking around, taking some pictures of cosplays before going to the Hyatt for a 7 o'clock panel on the multiple versions of Nosferatu, which I was really interested in, not just because of the fact that I've been fascinated by Nosferatu's probably my favorite silent films. I mean, we know my favorite Sherlock Jr. for Buster Keaton. But it's always very interesting to hear about this. And it was Matthew Foster, who was the film festival director for the longest time at DragonCon, and basically talked about all of the machinations of the different versions of Nosferatu, mostly the 1922 one, but basically going compare and contrast about what happened with some of these other ones. There were a lot more than I really expected. There are 6 total, and it was really interesting. It was a fun way to end the day for me before I went back to the Marriott to a little bit to catch up with a couple members of the Atlanta Film Critics Circle who were down there, and then went back to the hotel. Sunday, another early day, this time to get in line for a 10 a.m. panel at the Marriott with Simon Pegg. It was basically a one-on-one Q&A, which was a lot of fun. He was an absolute trip to listen to. And met my friend Kevin Kevin Thomas. He's been on the podcast before. He was there Friday, actually, so we talked a little bit then. But we also saw each other for the Simon Pegg panel. And that was just, it was good to see him. And after that, did a photo session with Simon Pegg, so got to get his picture. But before that, I went to get an autograph of Brandon Routh, who we met at the con for a photo op with Tom Welling a few years ago, but never really got his autograph. So I wanted to go ahead and get his autograph. Got some lunch. Then we had back-to-back photo ops with the cast of Back to the Future, as well as John Boyega. At which point Meredith was exhausted, so she went back to the hotel. I stayed around and went to the Hyatt for a 40th anniversary Back to the Future panel with Christopher Lloyd, Claudia Wells, James Tolkien, and originally it was supposed to be Billy Zane, but I guess he had left after the photo ops. So it was just the three of them. Didn't end up lasting the full hour. It was only about half an hour, I'm guessing, because Christopher Lloyd and James Tolkien are both fairly older, and it was hard for them to hear, so they had to have the questions repeated several times. So at which point, once that ended, basically went walking around, checking out some more costumes, met up with a friend of mine who works at Netherworld, talked about time at Regal, went to get dinner at Hard Rock, and then went to the Westin for my last panel of the con at discussing the work of Clyde Barker on the horror track. 30th anniversary of Lord of Illusion, so that's where that context came from. It was a really fascinating discussion of Clyde Barker's work and kind of how it began, talking about his work and how he's adapted it was really fascinating. You'll remember, if you're a Patreon subscriber, I actually did a discussion of his 3 directorial efforts from the context of how they work as adaptations. That's something I might post this year on Sonic Cinema. I'm not quite sure yet, but it was nonetheless a fascinating discussion. Had a couple panelists I'm familiar with, Christopher Moore, who I know from Renegade Film Festival, as well as Crystal Cleveland, who I met at Renegade as well, and talked to Crystal and some of the moderators and stuff like that for a while afterwards. And then Monday morning, we drove down, checked out, got to the vendors and checked out some stuff. We ended up getting a few things, not a lot, and we drove home. And that is where I'm recording this from. That's going to be it for DragonCon 2025 until next year. And then that's going to do it for this episode of the Sonic Cinema podcast. Coming up next in this month, you're going to get a continuation of a discussion with a filmmaker that I met at the Atlanta Film Festival this year. And we are continuing the conversation from then. Thank you very much for joining me. Check us out at patreon.com/SonicCinema. Subscribe if you can, and you will get excerpts of some of these Q&As, some of these panels from DragonCon. And then check us out at Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, as well as the YouTube channel. And most importantly, check out my work at www.sonic-cinema.com. Thank you very much.